So as we know, President Trump wants to put a 25% tariff tax on Mexico and on Canada starting February 1st.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact the...
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
And this is a concern for Canadian truck drivers doing business in America, which majority over-the-road truck drivers in Canada, 80% of their time is in America, right? And so let's get into today's video, but we're going to hear some clips from Trump and we're going to hear some clips from Trudeau. And Trudeau says he wants to fight back and just start almost a trade war on this if Trump is serious about this.
Of course, if the president does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond. And everything is on the table.
You know, let's get into this a little bit. You guys tell me, as Canadians, would you want to be a part of America and be the 51st state? Yes or no? And to all the American truck drivers out there, what are your thoughts about Canadian truck drivers not being able to work in America? Does that make you happy? Does that not? You know, Mud Truckers, let's get into today's video. What's going on, Mutha Truckers? Welcome to Mutha Trucker News. Email us at muthatruckernews@gmail.com. So this email I got today was one that I know is going to rile a lot of people up. So let's get into this information, and I'm genuinely just asking questions. So if you feel like you have to unsubscribe, I understand, that's fine, but this has to do with trucking, and so let's get into it today. So we have a Mutha Trucker that says, Alex, if President Trump February 1st has these 25% tariffs in Canada, my trucking business will be obsolete and I will be bankrupt. And so I actually phone called a couple truck drivers from Canada, and they all agree that if this 25% tariff did happen, it just wouldn't be bad for truck drivers. It would be bad for the whole Canadian economy. So let's look at this right here, right? First off, there are 324,200 truck drivers in Canada. And when I talk to my friends that are truck drivers over there, they say that if you want to go over the road, that's 80% of your time you're going to be spending it in the United States. So if you don't have a passport, a trucking company in Canada won't even hire you if you're going to do over the road. And local work, no disrespect to it, but it does not pay as great as over the road, right? And there's a reason for that, right? And let's get into that right here. And the number one reason is because just about 80% of the exports are from the United States. So let's read into this. Top 5 countries into which Canada exported in 2022 are along with the percent of total exports that went to that country. Canada exports to the United States worth US $458 million with partner share of 76.88%. So almost, if we're rounding up, 80% of Canada exports go to the United States, right? And when you look up this information here, check this out. From Canada and Mexico, you can see this right here. From the lumber to the vehicles to the crude oil, you know, majority of that stuff Canada sells to America, right? So if this tariff does happen, which in my opinion, I do not think that he would actually do this because it would completely crumble Canada. I think he's just doing this as a scare tactic to get the borders aligned.
For a balanced trade affect tariffs and your decisions?
Yeah, unbalance and balance, and also deficits. Like with Canada, we lose $200 billion a year with Canada. That's because we allow them to make cars. We allow them to take lumber. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their food products because we make the same products right on the other side of the border. It's sort of crazy. So we've just allowed that, bad management has allowed it over the last 4 years in particular to become very imbalanced. And I said I call him Governor Trudeau, but he's Prime Minister Trudeau when he was Prime Minister. I asked him, why would we do that? Why? And he was unable to give me an answer. He said, I don't know. And I said, do you think it's fair that we're paying $200 billion to keep Canada going? And what would happen, I asked him, what would happen if we didn't do that, if we didn't subsidize Canada? He said, we'd be a failed nation. And I said, then you should be a state. Because why are we paying all of that money to Canada when, we could use it ourselves, right? So we take care of their military. We're going to order about 40 Coast Guard big icebreakers, big ones. And all of a sudden, Canada wants a piece of the deal. They say, why are we doing that? I mean, I like doing that if they're a state, but I don't like doing that if they're a nation. Also, they've been very nasty to us on trade. Historically, Canada has been very, very bad to us, very unfair to us on trade. So we'll see how it all works out.
So, the United Kingdom
I
might
would
be in a
love
better
to see
spot.
Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained. But just to start off, they'd have a massive tax cut, and they'd have a lot more business, because then we'd let business go to Canada routinely, and there'd be no tariffs. If we did that, there'd be no tariffs.
What President Trump wants is he's saying that, hey, if Canada becomes the 51st state of America, then they would have less taxes, and it would be better for their country to be a state of America. I wonder what your thoughts are about that. But overall, this whole thing about this 25% tariff on Canada, when it comes to just not Canada and the economy, but to the trucking industry of Canada, majority of their truck drivers that are over the road do business here, and they would lose their jobs, over time. It's one of those things where these tariffs will not be good for Canadian truck drivers doing business in America. And most of the business is in America. My truckers, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this.
Of course, if the president does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond. And everything is on the table. Working in unison with Team Canada, as Team Canada, with business leaders, organized labor, civil society, Indigenous leaders, and premiers from coast to coast to coast, we are prepared for every possible scenario. In fact, just last night, I spoke to Premier Ford in his capacity as chair of the Council of the Federation, and he reiterated his unwavering commitment on behalf of Canadian premiers to working all together. This is an important and challenging moment for Canada and for Canadians. And we know there will be many such moments. Through all of it, I want to be clear that we have Canadians' backs.